was 11 years old, and my parents got new VHS cameras, and my dad's taking home movies. And he's like, Russ, introduce yourself. I said, my name's Russ. I'm a shy kid, so I'm like, my name's Russ. I like soccer. I like basketball. I love my dog Rudy. Then I slump my shoulders, bend over, pause, look down, and I'm fat. I remember deciding right then and there. I didn't know how. I was like, man, I'm gonna get rid of the fat. I'm gonna be one of those fit guys like I saw in the magazine. We didn't have internet back then, but fit guys in the magazine with shredded abs. That's where the seed was planted.
Like millions of people around the world, we need to work. Some do it for the money, others do it for the recognition. And if you're lucky, you do it because you love it. But finding purpose and passion in your work can be easier said than done, and the path to success can be unpredictable at best. But if you're looking for some inspiration, then I've got one question for you. Are you consuming your career, or is it consuming you? Welcome to Consuming Careers. I've been working since I was about 14 years old, and though I've tried to stay in shape, I haven't really given much thought to what impact fitness might have on my career. Hey friends, it's Bruce Smith, and on this week's episode of Consuming Careers, we're meeting with Russ Yeager, a renowned fitness expert and trainer, who shares his encouraging journey from being a husky 11-year-old to competitive bodybuilder to helping friends get in shape and ultimately building a successful career around fitness. But early in his fitness career, Russ discovered his own thorn in the flesh, forcing him to re-examine what's truly important and how consistency and finding a healthy balance between work, family, and faith has been the key. And for an added bonus, Russ shares some practical exercise and nutrition tips along the way. So let's join my conversation with Russ. All right, well, welcome back to Consuming Careers Podcast. And I'm in a pretty unique location today. We're in a gym today, and I'm with Russ Yeager. Russ, welcome to the Consuming Careers Podcast.
Hey, Bruce. Great to see you, man. Glad to be here.
Yeah, we finally got to meet. So we connected, we probably connected on LinkedIn maybe a year or so ago. But what really intrigued me about kind of your presence on LinkedIn and social media and what you were saying is, and I wrote this down, this is not word for word, but you said something like helping busy professionals over 40 years old get into better shape. And it was something like that. But I just thought there's a real need for that. I've been a busy professional for 40 years and I'm certainly over 40. And we talk about careers all the time. I mean, that's really the purpose of this podcast. But fitness doesn't come up a whole lot in the break room. I'll put it that way. So as we're talking, here my agenda is kind of threefold. I want to talk about career, your career, careers in general. Number 2 is fitness, and number 3 is faith. And do those overlap? How do they overlap? Can they coexist? My thesis in this, or what I've observed, is, people have a career, right, in one place, and then they have faith in another place, and they have fitness if it fits in, right? And you probably hear that story quite a bit with people that come walking through the doors.
Yes, it's so true. I mean, and it can be, those are great examples, having the career, having the faith, having the fitness. Some people have the, career and fitness and they don't have the faith. I mean, I think it's very rare to find people that really have, have all of it thriving. And, I don't love the word balance because I don't think we're ever going to be in perfect balance.
Right.
But, having thriving in each one. And, the tagline, to be more specific, is what it says is helping men over 40 get shredded without giving up pizza and ice cream.
Oh, that's a whole lot better than what I said. Because I love pizza and ice cream a lot.
Me too.
That's a typical diet in the Smith household. So, well, let's get into your background. Just tell me, you said something funny, and I didn't realize this until we talked about it, but you have an accounting background because you were at KPMG.
Yep.
And I grew up at Ernst & Young, and we both kind of parted those careers in different ways. But tell me about your background. How did we get here?
Yeah, definitely. First, I got to say, man, I'm so impressed. I've done dozens, if not, over 100 podcasts.
Oh, my gosh.
I've never done one in my studio, and I know you do them in unique locations. So I've never seen anybody that does interviews like you, where you go to a restaurant or somewhere unique to that person you're interviewing. So I want to say I appreciate that. And not only are we doing it in my studio, you got here, and within 10 minutes, you have like a professional, podcast studio set up within my personal training studio. So I've never seen it like that. I appreciate that. But yeah, man, I kind of goes back further from, really when I was like 10, 11 years old. I was, grew up not fit. Not morbidly obese, but I love to eat. I'm totally transparent about that, and I've always liked to eat not just food that's not necessarily good for you, but a lot of it. And so I was chubby. I'd go to the pool. I had to wear the white T-shirt. I tried to cover the spread of fat up. My friends would tease me, and I don't think they were trying to be mean, but it really bothered me.
Sure.
But we have these moments in life, Bruce. I think a lot of in childhood that are these defining moments, and one huge one for me was I was 11 years old, and my parents got new VHS cameras, so my dad's taking home movies, and he's like, Russ, introduce yourself. I said, my name's Russ. I'm a shy kid, so I'm like, my name's Russ. I like soccer. I like basketball. I love my dog Rudy, which is a Basenji, this curly-tailed dog.
Yeah.
Then I slump my shoulders, bend over, pause, look down, and I'm fat. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, both my parents look at each other like awkward silence, don't know what to say. And finally my mom breaks the silence. She's like, Russ, you're not fat, you're just husky. Yeah. And she said that because I had to get the husky pants going back to school. I don't know if they're still called that, but I hated that word. It made me so mad. I wish they just call them the fat pants. And I remember deciding right then and there, I didn't know how. I was like, man, I'm going to get rid of the fat. I'm going to be one of those fit guys like I saw in the magazine. We didn't have internet back then, but fit guys in the magazine with shredded abs. And
at 11 years old.
11, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
That's where the seed was planted.
Okay.
And I started. My dad used to run, and I started running, and I probably got healthier. My body didn't change because I didn't understand. You couldn't outrun a bad diet.
Yeah.
And late teens, early 20s, I started lifting weights. For basketball, and I really liked it. I liked the muscle, I liked the strength. Still didn't really understand nutrition. Got into it a little more, in college. Really got into it, but then went into the workforce, as you know. Got in with KPMG and auditing, so I'm traveling all the time.
Right.
Late night business dinners. Drinking and partying in my 20s, and I was working out, but I didn't have it all together. And finally, Bruce, at 27, I said, "Man, you never did what you said you're going to do." 11-year-old Russ said you're going to do. So, and this is what I found in my life. Like, when you make a true decision and commitment, that's when change happens.
Yeah.
A lot of us have things we want. Tony Robbins talks about shoulds. I should get in better shape. I should go to church. I should get up earlier. I should, make more money. And you end up shitting all over yourself, right?
Yeah.
Nothing changes until it becomes a must. So it became a must for me.
At 27, okay.
At 27. So that's the first step. This is a must. I'm going to do it. Mm-hmm. And then the next step is, okay, how am I going to do it? I found, I knew I was going to do it. That's the biggest thing. I told my son yesterday they had their awards at school. He was in second grade, right? And then I had my twin kindergartners. So we went to their awards ceremony.
Okay.
And my 8-year-old son, the last 3 years, he's gotten either they do a specific award for each kid.
Yeah.
And he's gotten either persistence or determination.
Wow. Okay.
And I said, son, that's the most important. I'm so proud of you because that's the most important quality to achieve any goal in life.
Yeah.
More important than knowledge or skill or learning how. If you've got a strong enough determination and you're never going to quit, you're going to figure out a way.
Well, that's, Angela Duckworth wrote the book on grit, right?
Yeah.
And she's got that really popular TED Talk on grit, which is, if you're not born with brains, grit may actually get you farther. And it's a great reminder that you're right. Your son with persistence, that'll take him a long way.
I believe grit will get you farther. So, I made that decision. And here's the cheat code I've learned. The shortcut is to find somebody who's done what you want to do and get them to mentor you, hire them as a coach. So I hired a coach. He was the top natural bodybuilder in the world. Yeah. And then the third step, of success I learned is to have accountability. Okay. And so, I had the accountability of a coach, but I wanted extra accountability with the timeline, because accountability without a timeline, there's no sense of urgency. So I entered International Physique Transformation Contest. It was a 12-week contest.
Yeah.
And, you got to take before and after pictures and all that good stuff. And I, started over 20% body fat. So, pretty soft, really no definition. Trained just like a natural bodybuilder, did everything my coach said.
Yeah.
And in 12 weeks, shredded down to 5% body fat, totally shredded, looked completely different. Won this contest, got sponsored by the supplement company, put it on, got to be a sponsored athlete at the Arnold Schwarzenegger Classic.
Wow.
And people started, I'm an accountant at this time. So people that work in the gym were like, dude, what happened to you?
Yeah.
And I told them, and they said, can you help me? And I started helping people on the side. And, that was 22 years ago. Ended up quitting my full-time job about pretty shortly after that in the CPA as a CPA. And it never looked back.
Well, look, I sat in the same seat with you in public accounting, and those are 50, 60-hour weeks, right?
Yeah.
You know, especially during some busy seasons. So realistically, how did you fit that in?
It was making it a must. You know,
Okay.
I did have, you know, times when I was working, you know, a lot during busy season specifically, which it seemed like busy season was all the time.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think in corporate America, Bruce, there's a lot of wasted time.
Yeah.
Or I know there is.
Yeah,
I learned
sure.
how to do my job very efficiently,
Okay.
and you know, make time for what was important for me.
So you
and
made-
I would also, it was a must for me. So
Yeah.
I literally, like, we'd travel on the road, you know, because I was in auditing, and I remember being specifically at, you know, a client, PV Electronics in Meridian, Mississippi, in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And the only gym in town closed at, you know, it opened before, or it didn't open before we had to get to work, and it closed at like 9 o'clock.
Okay.
And we were working past that. So I just told my manager, look, I'm going to go work out. I'll come back and I'll work as late as I have to. And I literally brought my George Foreman grill. They came, I remember my manager came in, I was grilling George Foreman chicken in the break room.
Yeah.
She's like,
oh my
that was
God, that's
insane.
great. Well, I was doing an audit in Pelham, Georgia, and the only food options were, well, I think there was a Piggly Wiggly about, you know, an hour away, but there was like a Jack in the Box and a, you know, maybe an Arby's and a Long John Silver.
Captain D's,
Captain D's. I mean, there's like no health options, right?
Yeah.
So you got to plan ahead,
Yeah.
and it has to be a must, right?
Yeah.
To really accomplish any kind of goals in a small town on an audit, right?
For sure.
Oh, that's funny.
And I've learned, and we can talk about this, you know, I used to be so strict and, you know, got to eat my chicken and broccoli, you know, all clean food. And, you know, and people get caught up in the what, you know, more than the how much. And so I've learned, and what I specialize in now, because I solved this problem for myself. You know, I lived that I got into natural bodybuilding after I won that contest. Lived that lifestyle a long time. You know, chicken and broccoli, 2 hours later, protein shake, 2 hours later, chicken and broccoli, 2 hours, you know, work out 2 hours in the morning with weights, hour at night cardio, 6 days a week. And guess what? I looked incredible, but it consumed my life. And I was okay with that. I was single, my stage of life. I was okay with it consuming my life. But when I started training my clients, I trained them like that early on. 3 months, they looked incredible, but unfortunately, too many of them went back because that's not a sustainable or realistic lifestyle for people that are, you know, have careers, have kids. Like you said, how do you make the time? So what I became, you know, I got married a little later in life, you know, at 39. We have now 3 kids. We started a little later. So really, like, just 10 years ago, I started saying, okay, I want to, you know, what's more important to me is my family, my career, being healthy, looking good, you know, being alive and functional and able to dance with my daughter at her wedding, all that good stuff. But I also want to, you know, I want to eat real foods like pizza, ice cream, cheeseburgers without, you know, feeling guilty and within reason. And I still want to have abs, you know, and I figured, so my question is, can you have it all? And I figured it out. The answer is yes, when you have the right strategy and right consistency. So that's really what I'm passionate about, is helping, you know, and I say men, I led with men. One of my coaches said you need to only focus on one group of people.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I focused on men. It's interesting. Some ladies started saying, hey, can you train me? Can you coach me? And I said, well, I'd like to. And I decided, well, should I get like a female coach to do it? Should I have 2 separate groups? And I tried doing it in one community. And long story short, it's worked out really great. Really respectful, really amazing. And so I work with I'm passionate about helping men and women over 40. You know, and the reason for that is I'm 49. I turned 50 this year. And it's different than when you're in your, you know, 20s and 30s than when you're in your 40s and 50s. You know, I have my hip issues, and most people, you know, may not have something that extreme, but as they get older, we have these imbalances. We have these things we need to work around, number one. So you need to make sure you're doing a safe, effective workout. But number 2, like, people don't want to be on the chicken and broccoli diet. They want to live a real life. They want fitness to enhance their lives, not rule their life. So that's what I'm passionate about.
Well, that's only a temporary fix, right, or a temporary state. I mean, I've tried that, and, you know, go a couple days, and after a little while, there's only so much you can do with chicken. So,
if you can't do your eating plan forever, it's not a good eating plan.
Okay. So, how did just to step back a little bit, how did you move from, you know, fitness being a personal interest and just something you wanted to do to take care of yourself and a lifestyle into becoming a business that you'd leave accounting for?
Yeah, I mean, it was that contest sparked it, although I really always knew. I think this is what I knew. Even in college, this just came back to me, Bruce. I remember I think it was an English class, we had to do some big project on, you know, opening a business, and I opened Heavy Metal Gym was my business. I was really into heavy metal, and but I didn't think I could make a real career out of that, right? I mean, I was brought up traditional, right? You go to school, you know, you get a degree, and you get a safe paying good job, and, you know, the accounting The big accounting firms, KPMG, Arthur Andersen, Ernst & Young, they all came on. I was good at accounting. It just makes it clicked for me. Either get it or you don't,
Right.
It's like a puzzle for me. And everybody's like, oh, man, accounting's like a great career to come into. That's how I picked my career. And so, I was going through the motions. I wasn't passionate about it. I saw the partners, respect for them, but I saw them at, 55, they looked 75, and they were making good money, but, they were worn out, no life balance. And I was like, I don't want that. And I knew I wanted something different. And then it was literally winning that contest and people saying, hey, I started getting more questions about working out and eating than I did debits and credits. And I knew this is what God put me on earth to do. And I literally I'm a ready, fire, aim guy. So I said, I'm done. Told my boss, I'm going to do this. And, they tried to get me to stay. And they said, it's busy season. Yeah. It's like, it's always busy season. I appreciate you, but I'm moving on.
It is. Well, kind of on that note, and around the same time, tell me kind of what happened with your dad. Yeah. And kind of the influence he had. Man,
my dad was my hero. Yeah. I mean, like I think a lot of young boys, and he was awesome. I mean, he always supported me. It's interesting when I thought about doing this, I knew I wanted to do it. I was scared to tell my parents, right? Because what are they going to think? Oh, I'm leaving this good, safe accounting job. And my mom was, did what moms do. She worried and wants to protect me. Sure. But I was really, worried about my dad because he was, again, everything to me. And I remember telling him, and he said, Russ, I remember he was talking about when he was a boy and, I think in college and age, and his father, my grandfather, asked him, Robbie, what are you going to do with your life? And my dad's answer was, I don't know, but I'm going to be really good at it. And he was like, Russ, you've been great at everything you've ever done. You're going to succeed at this. I believe in you. You should do it. Wow. And this was coming from a man who worked, for Bell South for, his whole career, 39 years. So super conservative. So it meant so much to me. It gave me that belief in me to go out and do it. My dad helped me get my first loan. I had no credit. Yeah. Helped me open my first studio. And 6 months later, he was in perfect health, 60 years old. He got a super rare disease and, went from super healthy to dead in 7 weeks. So it was the hardest thing I've ever been through in my life, as I'm trying to start my new business and, going back and forth from Atlanta to Birmingham pretty much every weekend. And it was extremely difficult, but I'm grateful for, it's been 17 years now, I think. Okay. And I still miss him. I was thinking the other day about, man, I wish I could tell him this, and we didn't have, I don't think we had texting. I'm sure we had to have texting back then. How I want to text my dad this. And so I miss him, but I'm also grateful. Like some people never know their dad or they lose him at a young age. And I got a good 30 years with him. And, again, I was grateful for him for being the, catalyst to really give me that faith to go out and actually make this happen.
That's great. All right. Well, you made it. You're 17, 18 years in, so it sounds like he really impressed upon you kind of how to do it, get all in, do it well, and you've committed to it. So that's awesome. Let's talk about the fitness industry. So I think it's, I was doing some research this week on how big is it, and it's somewhere between, I think, 70 billion and 150 billion. I got all these kind of crazy numbers, and you're kind of right in the middle of that. So, how do you see the fitness industry right now? Where's it going? What's happening?
Yeah, it's big, and I don't know if that probably doesn't include the supplement industry, which is
probably not.
And then you've got the anti-aging, industry, which is huge. You got the hormone replacement and red light therapy, and there's a lot of cool things coming out. Right. And and the older I'm a basics guy, and we'll talk about that. But the older I get, the more I want every edge I can get, in terms of anti-aging and being healthy. So I do the, the ice baths and the sauna and the, all that. I have an anti-aging doctor I go to, all that good stuff. I've even looked at different businesses, as an entrepreneur. And I think the anti-aging, hormone replacement business is fantastic, right? Because people it's an easier business to sell. Yeah. It's way easier to sell, hey, let me give you a shot and a pill in an IV to be younger versus actually having to sweat and do work and change how you eat.
You got to get in the car, you come here, and you have to work hard. Yeah. Because, you had a bunch of people in here a little while ago, and they're working.
A bunch of people working. At the same time, there's not a magic pill yet. All these things can help, but you can't replace, hard work and consistent, doing the right things consistently in the gym and with your eating.
Yeah. So personally, kind of what is all this, as fitness as a career, and fitness in general, what does it mean to you personally?
Yeah.
and how you impact other people's lives.
Yeah, I want to answer that. I want to finish doing justice to your last question because you asked about the fitness industry. What's interesting is over the past really 10 years plus is everything has moved, like one-on-one personal, it used to be I'm going to get fit, I'm going to get a personal trainer, right, as an option. Everything's moved into group, right, because for the business it's more scalable. Instead of training one person 1-to-1, you can train 1-to-5 or 1-to-10 or 1-to-20 or 2 to 30 or 40 people.
Yep.
And it's a good model. Our business, we do small group personal training, but we keep it 3 to 6, so really small.
Okay.
We do semi-private, which is 2 people, but the main core of our business, and you can see the way we're set up, we're in one of the individual training suites now, is 1-to-1.
Okay.
And so the negative of 1-to-1 is it's not as scalable, right? You got to have more people, but nobody does it really well, and so we dominate that niche.
Wow.
And I believe, again, there's nothing wrong with group, but for our clientele, most of them in their 40s, 50s, 60s, they need and want that personalized attention. They want to know they have a plan that's designed for them, customized, not some cookie cutter thing, that it's going to be safe, work around their injuries, work around their lifestyle, and that they're going to have a professional or a team of professionals helping them along the way, and that it's comprehensive. There's a lot of places you can go to sweat. Right. But people want to transform. And so, looking at their strength training, cardiovascular, stretching, mobility, flexibility, accountability, nutrition, again, finding an eating plan that will get them the results they want, but actually fits into their lifestyle is one of the things we're super focused on. So it's interesting, I think, and it'll be interesting to see if it, comes back around. It's like everything seems to go through, different cycles, and the group training has been huge. And I think it'll probably continue to be huge. But, we're, and kind of getting into your next question is what it means to me. What it means to me is actually help. Yeah, I own a business. I got expenses. We're in it to make a profit. We got to, be profitable to stay open and thrive and provide for my family and my 14 team members, but I want every single client that walks in the door. I always say this. My most important goal is, number one, what their most important goal is. A lot of fitness professionals are like, you should do this. You should. When I was younger, it's like, you should do a contest. Yeah. I don't want to do a freaking contest. But what's important to them. But then also I say my most important goal, intention for you, is that you not only get in the shape you want, and I tell them, if you just, I don't care if it's been 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, you haven't done anything. If you can give me the next 6 months, not to be perfect, but to be consistent, we can get you the physical results you want or better. Now, if they need to lose 80, 100 pounds or more, that may be a year project. For most people, 6 months is enough, which is a pretty cool trade-off when you consider maybe you haven't done anything for 5, 10, 20 years. But more important than getting in that physical, shape, the body they want in that 6 months, is that they're able to maintain it or get better for the rest of their lives. That's what I want. And that gets into not just the physical workouts, but having the skills, the mindset, the habits, the discipline, so that it's just something kind of like brushing your teeth that they do for the rest of their life. Yeah.
And you said that there's no real shortcuts, and that was one of my questions, if there are. Now, I'm seeing some, like maybe in some of the diabetes pills, like Ozempic, where there seems like it's a shortcut, and I don't know all the chemical side to that, but that seems to be a pretty popular and effective drug that might be a boost to somebody who's trying to kind of at least make the step forward in fitness.
Yeah, there's shortcuts. There's been shortcuts for a lot of years in Ozempic and what's the other? I can't think of the other one right now. They'll help you lose weight really quickly. But there's downsides to the. There's a lot of side effects, that aren't very pleasant. We'll just say that. But the biggest problem with most of these quick weight loss programs is that you're going to lose weight quickly. So people like that. But the problem is the type of weight you're losing. Number one, especially if you do low carb, you're going to lose water weight really quickly. Carbohydrates hold water. Most people don't realize that. So you get rid of the carbs, you go on like a low carb keto diet, or just get your calories so low, that you're naturally going to reduce carbs. You lose a lot of water. So you lose 5-10 pounds in a week. You're all excited. It's just water. It doesn't mean anything. You're going to lose some fat, which is good. But inevitably, if your calories are too low and you're not doing strength training, you're going to lose. Even if your calories are way too low, even if you are doing strength training, but most of these diets doesn't center around strength training. It just centers around eating less and using a drug. You lose lean muscle. Which is a huge problem, not only because as we age, lean muscle is what helps us, not break our hips when we get, older, helps keep our bones, ligaments, muscles strong, prevent osteoporosis, all that kind of bad stuff. But also, strength training is your best fat-burning exercise, because lean muscle is what drives what's called your basal metabolic rate, which is the number of calories you burn every day. And so when you lose that lean muscle, you're actually burning less, and then you go off the drug, you're not going to take it forever. Let's say your basal metabolic rate was 2,000 calories a day.
Yep.
That means you're burning 2,000. You could theoretically lay in bed all day. If you eat 2,000 calories, you're not going to gain weight. You're not going to lose weight.
Right.
You lose 50 pounds, using the semaglutide. Maybe you're doing no exercise or just walking, no strength training.
Okay.
So let's say 15 of that's water. 15 of that we'll say 20 of that's fat, and 15 of that, if I'm doing my math right, or 10 of that is muscle. Guess what? Now and then you're done with the drug, you're done with the diet.
Yep.
And you're like, okay, I'm going to start eating like I used to eat, because that's what people do. Here's the problem: your basal metabolic rate's not 2,000 anymore; it's only say 1,800.
Yeah.
And so now you actually have to eat less food to stay the same. You're worse off than if you never did that diet or drug in the first place.
Really?
And then what do most people do? They start gaining weight.
Yep.
They do another low-calorie, extreme low-carb drug diet, and they're constantly losing more and more muscle, and they're driving that basal metabolic rate lower and lower and lower, and it gets harder and harder to keep the fat off.
Vicious cycle,
Vicious cycle. Flip side of that is every pound of lean muscle you build burns an extra 10 to 40 calories a day, depending on your metabolism. So our average male client, literally puts on 10 to 20 pounds of muscle the first year. Females 5 to 10 pounds.
Okay.
So if you just use 10 pounds of muscle and 20 to 30 calories per pound, and when you put that 10 pounds of muscle on, you're burning an extra 200 to 300 calories a day.
Yeah.
You're literally turning yourself into a fat burning machine. I call it passive fat burning, and it's the secret of how people see me eat. Like, how do you eat so much? Because I understand that I focus on building lean muscle. Yeah. And letting that eat the fat up versus trying to burn the fat by bringing my calories way down.
Yeah,
which is counterproductive.
And my problem is I live by the scale, right? So, and I run a lot. I say a lot. I run enough just to kind of keep my weight the same, but I don't work out enough. So my legs are in great shape. Yeah. So everything from my waist up, I need to do a little work on to kind of build up that muscle mass.
Yeah. Add in upper body strength training or full body twice a week.
Yeah.
That'll be plenty. Nothing wrong with running. That works for you. It's great cardio, great for your heart.
Yep.
Burns a lot of calories, but nothing like that strength training that's going to increase your metabolism. You'll probably get leaner, or you will get leaner. You'll tone up. You'll be stronger, and you'll probably get to eat more.
Speaking of eating, I told you I've got a little surprise here. So we're going to talk about food.
Cool.
And I brought...
my favorite subject.
Mine too, most of the time. And I brought some food with me, and I want to talk about your reaction to some of these foods that are pretty common in people's diets.
Okay.
So,
awesome.
First one.
Let's go.
Granola. So granola from my house, usually mixed with yogurt.
Yep.
But it's a staple in our family. So what do you think about granola?
Yeah. So before I get into the specific, I want to emphasize what I said earlier. Is most people and most diets are focused on the what in the food, the what is it, and the when you eat, right?
Okay.
Eat every 2 hours, or intermittent fasting. Eat only in an 8-hour window. Don't eat after 6 p.m. Right? Everything.
Yep.
Don't eat carbs. Right. And the biggest problem is not the what or the when, it's the how much. We eat too much food.
Yeah.
And so no matter what you're eating, if you're eating all healthy food, which is completely debatable, right? Because you got the people who said meat's going to kill you, and now the meat people are fighting back and finding what's wrong with vegetables, right? Vegetables will kill you. So it's debatable what's healthy.
Right.
But the most important thing is no matter what you eat, if you eat healthy or not, if you eat too much, you're going to be in trouble. So granola, again, if you like it and you want to fit it in, I don't have a problem with it. I have a whole talk I do on the difference between eating healthy and eating to look good.
Okay.
Eating to look good comes down to getting your calories right and your macronutrients right, which is just the three types of calories: protein, carbohydrates, and fat.
Yep.
And you can eat all unhealthy food and look great. Probably not a good idea because you look
Right.
great, but your insides are crap.
Dying on the
healthy.
inside, yeah.
Flip side, you can eat all healthy food and look like crap because you're eating too much, or you don't have the muscle and you're kind of skinny fat. So I believe in fitting in any food. And again, there's healthier foods. A general rule: the less ingredients, the less processed, the better. For example, here, we've got about 8 ingredients. Not too bad. A lot of things these days have 50, 70 to 70 ingredients.
Right.
But then also, an apple has how many ingredients? One, it's an apple.
Yeah.
Right. But from a calorie standpoint, granola, I'm not a big. If you like it, you could fit it in. Mm-hmm. But I'm a big fan of. There's pros and cons to everything. I'm a big fan of getting the most bang for my buck. I like to eat a lot. So I like eating things that have high volume and not a lot of calories. Granola is one of these things that has a lot of calories per lot and not a volume. So I'm looking at this. 1 ounce is 130 calories. Doesn't sound bad. 6 grams of fat, 17 carb, 4 grams of protein.
Yep.
No problem with all of that. But the problem is there's 12 servings. This is where people go wrong.
Yeah.
Is they don't realize, 130 calories. That's not that much. But then they eat,
the whole bag.
They eat the whole bag, and that's, almost 2,000 calories.
Right.
And so that's the problem with granola is it's very easy to eat a lot. But again, my wife likes it. You sprinkle a little bit on your yogurt, no problem. But what I would say is you want to fit, that into your calorie and protein goals for the day. Yeah.
All right, next. Banana
is a great example. One ingredient, banana. But and fruit gets a bad rap, dude.
Yeah.
Which I think is insane. Like fruit is not going to make you fat. First of all, think about it. If you eat a banana, an apple, an orange, and a handful of grapes, like how much you're at maybe 300-400 calories.
Right.
How much more fruit do you want? You don't.
Right.
Whereas if you're eating processed, chips or or I don't know, Pop-Tarts, whatever processed kind of stuff, all the stuff we eat, you can eat thousands of calories before you even know that you're full.
Got it.
So the other thing with, fruit gets a bad rap is sugar.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, and bananas, they're way high.
And that'll be the glycemic index. That's right. Talk about that. But the sugar, again, fruit and sugar is significantly different than like processed sugar. Again, number one, because the quantity is going to be controlled just naturally because you don't want to eat as much. That's the thing. Like people think sugar is going to kill you. No, it's when we massively overeat, right?
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan. I have no problem with fruit. I think fruit's awesome. God made fruit. It's full of phytonutrients, antioxidants. It's natural. Then you can get in. It depends on what details you want to get. The glycemic index of bananas is super high.
Yeah.
So all that means is it's going to spike your blood sugar faster, and what goes up comes down. So that can create energy swings. If your blood sugar continues to spike, that's how your body has to produce insulin. Gosh, you become insulin resistant if you have to keep producing more insulin. That's how diabetes happens. Okay. But again, the quantity and the natural sugar in banana, no problem with it. The other way to control something that's high on the glycemic index is if you eat it fat and or protein with it. That's going to keep your blood sugar from spiking. So, number one, stay away from overeating on the processed food, drinking too much booze, Cokes, all that kind of crap. Like look for easy wins.
Now you're stepping into some sacred cows here.
Yeah.
All right, next one.
All right, let's go.
Coffee.
I love it. So I was talking I love coffee, man. And again, there's studies that say it's good for you, studies that say it's bad for you. I choose to focus on the studies that say it's good for you.
Thank you.
I've got there's a genetic test. I partner with a company that does a really cool genetic test that shows how your body methylates or processes food within 5 different major processes.
Okay.
And one of the processes, if you have a mutated gene from either or both parents, it recommends some specific supplements and some nutritional guidelines. It recommends not having green tea with this specific genetic break.
All right.
And I was talking to one of my clients the other day, and he said, "Man, I drink green tea every day." I said, "Listen, I'll leave that up to." I said, "I recommend these supplements and doing these other things, but if it's up to you on the green tea. Technically, it's better not to drink it. If I found out I shouldn't drink coffee, I probably wouldn't stop because I really like it. I like, I've quit coffee for several months before." And I was fine, but I enjoy it, and I don't have a problem with it. I think where people getting in, and you can get, if you want to get technical, get the kind that's organic, that's grown free of mold and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
I think where people get into trouble is when they go to Starbucks and they get 1,000-calorie, mocha loca frappuccino, with all the sugar and stuff. So I drink mine either black or I'll put a little bit of cream and like a monk fruit, 0-calorie monk fruit or stevia in it.
All right. One more, last one. You're gonna like this.
All right. Is it pizza?
No. Ribeye steak. What do you think about that? Come on.
One of my favorite foods, bro. Don't let this thing get okay, you got it on ice because it's still cold.
Yeah.
I love ribeye. I love steak. And again, steak gets a bad rap. Oh, it's saturated fat.
Yep.
And again, it's the too much food, number one, too many calories, and the processed stuff is the problem, like meat.
Yeah.
And protein is important. Protein is the only macronutrient that builds lean muscle.
Okay.
And that's why it's so important. With my clients, all I have them worry about is their calories, number one, and their protein, number two. And then eating mostly whole, healthy food with some fun foods fit in.
Yeah.
And so, most people, when they think of protein, they think of, like, if they're meat eaters, chicken.
Yeah, right.
Chicken. Traditional bodybuilding. Chicken. I eat pounds and pounds of chicken every day. Chicken's fine, but chicken is just protein. Beef has all kinds of good vitamins, minerals, amino acids. Like, there's so many good things in beef.
Yeah.
I used to be a big fan of and I'm still a big fan of the leaner cuts like filet. right? Because it's less fat, so less calories.
Yep.
I had made the mistake of ordering a ribeye, and I can't go back. Ribeye is unbelievable.
So good.
So,
well, hey, listen, this is going to be a parting gift for you. So that's for you, man. Yeah,
that's
ribeye.
amazing.
Here we
That's
go.
amazing.
That's it.
And here's a hack on ribeye. Again, nothing wrong with this one. I will eat it so happily. The problem with ribeyes is they're higher in fat, so
That's
higher in
right.
calories.
Yeah.
You got to be aware of that. If you get the organic grass-fed, you're going to significantly reduce the fat and calories.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Doesn't taste quite as good, but it's pretty good.
That's great. That's great to hear. Hey, so, and this question comes from my daughter, Parker. And by the way, the Smith house is a house divided. So we've got 2 that won't eat red meat and 3 that will. So one of my daughters, who Parker, doesn't want to eat red meat. What do you think about the carnivore diet?
Yeah, I think I love meat. So it's funny. I've done some videos on carnivore diet. I did one why I said why I don't think the carnivore diet's a good diet. And I went to explain meat, like beef and eggs are 2 of my favorite foods. I love them.
Yeah.
But why I don't think why I don't think it's a good plan, I want to explain, is how realistic is it for most people to only eat, beef and eggs for the rest of their life, and butter for the rest of their lives. I think you're like anything. If you're only restricting to a certain thing, you're going to miss some nutrients. I think that's way healthier and better than the traditional American diet, where you're eating mostly processed stuff with dyes and all the ridiculous crap that America puts in their food that other countries don't.
Right.
But again, my biggest thing, and I said it earlier, if you can't do the eating plan forever, it's not a good plan.
Yeah.
And I've experimented with myself. I've done carnivore, and as much as I like meat and eggs, by 6 days in, man, I'm sick of it.
Yeah.
And I feel, I also feel like lightheaded. I feel just like a zombie.
Yeah.
And now you have to go through you can go through a process where you start, your body's primary preferred source of fuel is carbohydrates.
Right.
But if you get rid of carbs, your body will eventually go into ketosis and make fat your primary source of fuel. And there's people I know people that do the carnivore diet. They feel great. They love it. My question is, are you really going to do that forever? I think it's a teeny tiny percentage of population that do that. So it's so funny. Even though I was like promoting meat and eggs, I love it, but I don't think this is a great plan, sustainable. I got trashed by like all these. Carnivore diet's amazing. So funny. Yeah. So my social media team had me do like a bunch of videos to feed off that, right? And so I had a big giant steak, and I said the carnivore diet sucks, and I threw it and like stuck a knife in it, and just kind of had some fun with it. So I think meat and eggs are great, and butter, nothing wrong with butter, but I just think it's unrealistic if that's all you're going to eat forever. Yeah,
a couple of years ago, I remember I got off coffee. I was fasting, and and then I was just eating like red meat. So like no carb intake, no caffeine, and I was a wreck. Because somebody left a spoon on the counter. I'm like, ooh, just explode over the smallest thing. And I thought, I need to eat some food, or else my whole family's gonna collapse. Right. So
you ain't got the angry. And look, if it works, Jordan Peterson says he's only eaten red meat for how many years, and he feels amazing. He's lost weight. He's got all his health issues are gone. So that's awesome. But people have to figure out what's going to work for them. And for me, I'm in this industry. I want to be healthy. I want to be fit. I want to live well past 100.
Yep.
But I also want to live a real life. And if my daughter, her son's having a birthday party, and I want to have a piece of cake, I want to be able to have it and not worry about it.
All right. Hey, let's a little shifting of gears here. When we connected, you had mentioned that you were going through surgery, and you're kind of right in the middle of that now through the healing process. Can you talk about that and your journey through that? Yeah, definitely. So we all have our things, and again, it's easy. People look at me, 49, like, man, you're ripped, you're fit. They think it's just easy. And by the way, you are. I mean, I've told everybody, I think this guy's got like negative 3% body fat. So I think they're right. But go ahead. It's not that low, but I appreciate that. But people, it's easy. And the same thing with people see Instagram world. They're successful in money. They don't see what people have gone through. Right. And so I'm very transparent again about my eating, how I've overate a lot of my life, struggled with probably eating disorder, undiagnosed, and figured out how to work with that. But also, at 30 years old, I used to run a good bit. I'm running on the treadmill in one of my studios. And I just feel my left hip kind of give out, and it was weird. I'm like, oh, what was that? And I did what most intelligent, men do. I ignored it. Like dislocated, kind of felt like that? No, it just felt like it just kind of gave a little bit. And, I did what most intelligent men do. I ignored it. Of course. Started happening more and more and getting painful, and got an x-ray. And, I remember the guy that did the x-ray was like, doctor said, yeah, bad news. You basically got no cartilage left. I'm like, what the hell? I'm like 31.
And I sucked it up, for 10 years. I did, chiropractic and, PRP and, platelet, prolotherapy. They didn't really have stem cells back then. Yeah. Just didn't do anything.
It was just bone on bone.
Bone on bone.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
Finally had extremely painful. Finally had a hip replacement at 41 years old.
Okay.
And I talked to several people that had them. They're like, man, it's amazing. It's great. 5 weeks later, I'm running. I didn't have that experience. 8 days after surgery, literally making protein pancakes, dropped some on the ground. Mm-hmm. It's totally stupid looking back. I should have not cleaned it up or been wiser about the position. Got in the wrong position. It dislocated. Worst pain imaginable.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, it literally, I'm very big on positivity, mindset, mental toughness. I'm definitely, persevere and push through a lot of things. But, dude, it messed me up. I had PTSD. I was scared to move for months and months.
Wow.
I literally sat on the couch and ate pizza 13 days in a row, feeling sorry for myself. Finally got it together. Got back, started slow, but it was a long road back. I don't know how much the dislocation messed up the whole thing, but the implant's fine now, but my nerves, I had all kinds of weird nerve pain and bone pain for 3-4 years.
Wow. Okay.
Finally started feeling better, and about that time, the right hip started hurting. And so I literally now, I'm 49 now. It's been about 20 years I've been in pain consistently in either both or one hip.
Yeah.
And so I was slow to have surgery on the right one after what happened on the left one. And finally it got to where way even worse than the left. On the left I could run. It just hurt really bad. The right, every step I took just walking felt like somebody's jabbing a knife in.
Yeah.
And I knew I needed to do something about it. So literally 3.5 weeks ago, as you know, Bruce, I had hip surgery. This time I did resurfacing versus a full replacement.
Okay.
Which is a harder surgery. Not a lot of surgeons do it. I had to go to a guy in South Carolina who specializes in it. It's much less hardware. You can see on the x-ray. Like the full replacement has the stem that all goes down. This is a bigger ball, much less metal, but for whatever reason, the way they do it, it's a longer recovery process.
Okay.
So it's a 6-month full recovery process, but they call it the athlete's hip replacement. So at the end of those 6 months, I can do whatever I want.
Oh, that's great.
So technically, this left hip will be the limiter. So I'm really excited. Like literally, and I'm only less than 4 weeks out. It's already feeling pretty good. I can tell that arthritic pain is gone. So I'm excited. Probably another month or a couple of months to be, knock on wood, pain-free for the first time in 20 years and able to actually do things I want. I told my kids, I haven't been able to run.
Yeah.
And I've had to explain that. Daddy can't run, I'm like, guys, after 6 months, we're going to do a race.
We're running.
As soon as possible, because it may be my only chance in life to potentially beat you.
That's great. Well, you posted a video on day 12, May 6th, and you had talked about progress, really the idea of gradual recovery, and you mentioned progress, patience, and presence while you were walking on a cane, I think, because you had just kind of been able to walk some of the blocks, and that was just really, it was profound to me, right? So can you share a little bit more about that? Do you remember that?
Yeah, that specifically, or just progress in general?
Yeah, progress in general, and kind of what you learned from this process.
I decided I wanted to document this journey for myself and for other people. Other people, and it's crazy, man. Like people, on YouTube and mostly YouTube for whatever reason are reaching out, talking about their hip surgery that they've either had or they're having, and like thanks for their inspiration. And so that's really cool. I wanted to help people. I didn't know this many people had hip issues because there's a lot of people reaching out, but also people that are having challenges. They think that, that just to give them hope that, look, you can overcome it with the right strategy. And so I think I did my other 25-day update yesterday, but goes along with the 12-day is, when you're in the process, it can feel like it's so slow. Man, I'm limping around, I'm having to be so careful. I'm not even to where I was before I had the hip surgery, even though it hurt, I could do a lot more. But then I have to, you can either look at that, it's what you focus on, or I can look back. Just less than 4 weeks ago, I was literally under the knife. Then a week later, I'm still on crutches, a week, and then I'm like, man, a week after that, I'm still using a cane. Since then, I've gotten off the cane, I'm driving, I'm walking a mile a day. And, the pain is going away. I'm becoming more and more functional every day. So I really think it's focusing, instead of focusing on, and could be anything. Most of us focus on what we don't have, and that, number one, you get what you focus on, so you get more of what you don't have. I genuinely, sincerely believe that. But also, you're gonna feel a gap, right? You're gonna feel a gap. There's a great book, The Gap and the Gain, I think it is, Dan Sullivan. I may be getting the name wrong, but he talks about in the business world, and you can apply it to anything. most people are focused on the gap, what I don't have, what's not working. And if you're in that gap, you're going to be stressed. You're going to have all these negative emotions because you don't have it, instead of focusing on the gain. What have I done? Get grateful for that. And focus on where you want to go. And it's it's human nature. Our brains are designed to protect us. So they're focused on all the things that can kill us and the danger. And we don't have the saber-toothed tigers that are going to kill us. So we focus on stuff like, I'm not feeling perfect, or, I'm tired, or what does this person think of me? What's going to happen? What if? What if this happens?
That's right.
Our minds are so powerful, and we have the power to choose what we focus on. Tony Robbins literally says, and I think it's true, our life, we don't experience life, we experience the life that we focus on. Because we can't control outside events, but we can totally control what they mean to us, and more importantly, what we're going to do about it.
Well, what you did, I think most of what I saw was on Instagram, where you were documenting each day, or almost every day. I didn't see them all, but you could have just kind of skipped all that, right? Instead of showing people you're walking in a cane, walking crutches, not at your best, right?
Yeah.
It would have been a lot easier just to kind of shut down for several months and just come back and say, "Hey, world, I'm back. Let's go."
Yeah.
You can't stop me, kind of thing. But that transparency, I thought, was encouraging, at least to see that, and I appreciated that.
Well, I appreciate that, and I really strive to be transparent, in real life and on social media, because social media is great, but I mean, if you go through. This is a whole other topic of mental health. Like, you see everybody's highlight reel, and their life looks perfect, and they're super fit, and they're going on the perfect vacation, perfect family, perfect wife, perfect husband, perfect kids, and your life sucks, and now you're depressed. But you're just seeing a picture or a video. You don't know the real story, and it's interesting. I'll see, name anybody, obviously, but I mean, a couple of specific instances in my mind where I see a social media picture that presents just perfectness, and then I know the story going on behind it that's nowhere near perfectness.
That's right.
So I like to be transparent, again, not to be, I want to be positive, I want to encourage, but I also want to show people what I'm really going through versus just showing the highlight reel.
Well, on that, in light of kind of the industry of fitness, right? It's a very visual, great for social media, right? Because you can see people that are fit. So how do you balance, in a healthy way, an industry that's blemished with kind of the worldly pressures of appearance in an authentic way that doesn't overemphasize body image, right? And that's a problem on the other side. So, and that could lead to, as you know, self-esteem issues, eating disorders, and self-absorption. So how do you balance that in your life, in this industry, in your work?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it's a challenge, and I think what you said is a problem with, again, the perfect washboard ads on Instagram. Mm-hmm. And most people, I have visible abs. My goal is to keep them 365 days a year, and I usually do, to some degree. But you can have a picture, and I actually did a picture that I haven't posted it yet, and literally it's the same workout. And so I got in really good lighting, the right angle. Yeah. And I'm working out, so I'm pumped up, veins popping, abs shredded. And then I took another picture just in bad lighting with a relaxed pose, and I look okay, but I look like more like a normal human. Yeah. and it's literally like I could say this is a 3-month or 6-month transformation. People would believe that.
Yeah. Wow.
And they're taking 1 minute apart. So that's part of the problem with social. Okay. I mean, you're seeing people, and I have respect for people who look good in person. All the time, versus, because a lot of people will get in shape and they'll peak out. There's a lot of things you can do with your water and all this to peak out, and then you look incredible. Lighting and a good photographer, and you look incredible. And then the normal person that doesn't understand all that, they're like, "Man, I'm supposed to look like this. That's what I should be able to look like all the time." And that person doesn't look like that all the time. Yeah. So that's a problem. Yeah. That what you're talking about, but also the others. I think it's gone too far the other way, where it's like, hey, and I believe when I meet people, you're beautiful. Especially I work with ladies, there's so much pressure, and guys too. Yeah. Guys, it's funny. I'll talk to guys and I want to lose fat. I want to have more confidence, this and that. And when I really get them to unpeel the onion and get real, they're like, "Russ, I hate how I look, man. I don't want to go to the pool with my kids because I don't want to take my shirt off." Wow. So the men have the same kind of body image issues, but with ladies, I still think they have more pressure. So I'm like, you're amazing and beautiful the way you are. Focus on yourself. But there's nothing wrong with wanting to change your body and get amazing, and you should do that for your health, but do it to the level you want. Yeah. My thing with people is I show them, we measure their body fat percentage, And I'm like, look, from a safe standpoint, just to reduce your risk of heart disease, cancer, cardiovascular disease, all that crap, we know you get down to this range, you haven't guaranteed it, but you've significantly reduced your risk. Then it's up to you. If you're happy with how you look and feel, cool. If you want to get more lean, cool, we'll do that. I make it about them, but I do think it's gone too far where it's like, hey, it's self-acceptance, and it gives people an excuse to just be obese and not do anything about it, and hey, you just have to accept me. And it's their choice, but they know that they're like reducing their risk of all these problems. I mean, and again, my belief, like, not to judge anybody, but like, especially if you're like a dad, like, your kids don't, I've learned my kids don't listen to anything that I say or my wife says, but they watch and they model. And I think being a parent's the hardest job in the world. I question myself every day if I'm doing a good job at it, but I know one thing my wife and I have done a good job of modeling is health and fitness, because we see them working out. We see them, doing push-ups and sit-ups, and we have a Peloton. They'll get on that. They talk about, is this food healthy or not? So leading by example. And I believe as a man, as a father, one of the best things you can do, and again, you don't have to be shredded, but, to make fitness and health, a positive thing so that your kids can model that.
And you mentioned earlier, and I forget if I had pushed record or not, but like there's no balance, right? You're always swinging. And so how do you balance that, along with that same question, how do you balance the family, the faith, the fitness, and your career in a way that's kind of holistic and works? Yeah,
I have, I think it's, again, like if I said earlier, if anybody says they have the perfect balance, I'd love to get on their plan. I mean, I know when I was younger, it was all fitness.
Yeah.
Like it was fitness, a little bit of fitness and personal relationships fun, right? Going out.
Sure.
And, really not much faith at all, no family because I didn't have a family. Friendship was strong. Now as I've gotten older, fitness is still a big part of my life, but it's not everything. My family's super important to me.
Yeah.
My faith is super important to me. That's become stronger.
Yeah.
My business, and financial world is huge to me. So I can find myself, like I think a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs, focusing too much on the business and finances, right? And neglecting the other.
Yeah.
So I don't claim to have a perfect balance, but I think I do a pretty good job. I mean, I have my health. I'm not perfect at it, but I'm consistent for long term. I have my family. I'm definitely not perfect, but I love my wife. I love my kids. I make time. My wife and I make a concerted effort. We made a deal. We're going to go on at least one vacation a year with just us, no kids. We've kept that. Even when our twins were born, we still did that.
Yeah.
My faith, I'm definitely not perfect at, but I read the Bible every single day. It's a non-negotiable. Every morning I read a chapter. That's what works for me. And, it's funny with faith, like the more I try to learn more about Jesus and be more like him, the more I feel like I'm failing, and because it's impossible to even get close. So it's funny, like the more you learn, and like you can put that in any category, the more you feel like you're failing. Business, finance, again, we've been very successful in our business. We've got good investments, good passive income, but it depends. If I compare myself to a multi-billionaire, well, I'm nowhere near them. I'm a loser.
Right. Yeah.
But if I compare myself, and I think this is the key, if I try to compare myself in all these categories to where I was, last year, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and to look at that progress.
Okay.
So that's kind of how I do it. I don't know that I have the perfect answer, but I make a focus. I tend to be a workaholic, and we talked about grit and determination. I think that's the most important thing. But I also definitely believe as I've gotten older, I'm working smarter.
Yeah.
I have some good mentors that are multimillionaires, billionaires, and they're like, it's about what you do and doing the most efficient things. And because I found and one of my mentors challenged me. He said, you need to work, I want you to cut your work hours into a third. That's your goal. That's what you have to do, and you still have to be as efficient. And so it gets you thinking different.
Yeah.
So instead of, I would find myself feeling like, well, I just got to work all day. If I don't have anything important to do, I got to make something up.
Right.
He's like, that's the worst thing you can do. It just wears you out. He's like, you need to figure out what the most important needle movers are. Just do those, and when you're done with that, you're done working.
I like that.
And it's been a challenge for me, but it's interesting. You talked about how much you work in public accounting. I did work a lot. When I first started my business, I worked more.
Yeah.
A lot of people think, I'm going to start my own business and be free. Now, you're working for your hardest boss ever, right?
Yeah.
Yourself. But now in the last 2 years, I still I work less. I work smart, intelligently. I have an amazing team, and I make time for other things and things that I enjoy. And it's a transition, but I'm doing pretty good at it.
All right. Well, kind of going down the path of faith. I saw that you spoke at Restoration Church.
Yep.
And they were doing a series on health.
Yeah.
And I'm going to read the verse that they quote, and then I have a question about it. But they quoted, or it was based on 3 John 2, and it says, "Dear friend, I pray that you may enjoy good health, and that all may go well with you, even as your soul is getting along well." So that was the foundational verse. And I know you spoke on that. So a question I have about that, and I just want your opinion, not that there's right or wrong, but is that an attempt to spiritualize a healthy human trait or to humanize a spiritual virtue, right? So when I hear about taking care of the body in a religious context, I'm like, is that really important? Because we're just supposed to be talking about spiritual stuff here, right? Like, what's the concern? Is God concerned about the physical body? That's kind of the bottom line question. So sometimes we over-humanize a spiritual concept, and sometimes we over-spiritualize a human concept. Kind of what do you think about that?
It's a great question, and the more I read the Bible, I have all these questions, and I ask friends who are theologians and preachers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So my opinion of that, my humble opinion, is that our body is our temple. And, the God wants to know our heart, and, the spiritual is the most important. But he's given us this temple to house our spirit and to live out, what I believe is our purpose on earth. So I think it's our obligation to take care of it. And again, it doesn't mean you have to be a fitness competitor or your life revolve around it, but to disrespect it, trash it, not take care of it, and do things that consistently are not going to, serve your body, I think is... I don't think that's what he wants.
That's great. We've covered a lot, except for this last question. Do you feel like you are consuming your career, or your career is consuming you?
Depends on the day.
Yeah.
Depends on the day.
Because you already talked about earlier about it consuming, it was consuming you early on,
It's consumed me. I think it has a lot of people. I think I'm consuming it better than I ever have.
That's great. Good answer.
Not perfect, but I'm getting way better at that.
Right now, these days, yeah. And it sounds like you're getting good coaching and accountability around that, too.
For sure.
That's good. All right. Okay, so here we go. We're going into the lightning round.
I love it, man. You got it all covered.
Yeah, and then we'll wrap this up. All right, first question. What would be the best first step for anyone kind of looking to get more balance in their life? Mind, body, spirit, kind of, what would you say?
Find out where you want to go. Most people start a plan or set goals without getting the end in mind.
Yep.
So I changed my goal setting process years ago. Instead of setting the goals, I said, what do I want my life to look like? And then I set my goals around that. So I'd say that's step number one. And then making a decision and a commitment to actually follow through.
That's good. All right. And what's your go-to inspiration when you don't want to get off the couch?
The Bible, I read everything first thing in the morning. I love Tony Robbins.
Yeah,
I have a lot of
gosh,
mentors. I'm working with Chris Crone, Grant Cardone. Listen to Eric Thomas. I listen to Ed Milet. But man, Tony he's got a way to really get me motivated.
Yeah, he's really good.
In a very practical way.
Yeah. Who would you say is or was the epitome of fitness?
The name that came into my mind is Jack LaLanne.
Jack
the classic.
LaLanne.
Yeah.
That's good.
And there's other people that are, maybe look more, that are younger, make more physical appealing. But yeah, he came into my mind. And the reason I think he did, now that was my instinct, and I've learned again from one of my coaches, go with your intuition, your instinct. The first answer is the right one. So he came in, and now my logical is backing that up because he did it for so long.
Yeah. Yeah, so half the audience is going to have to look that up. They're going to have to Google Jack.
Look him up.
Jack LaLanne. He's a classic. All right, question number 4. I'm going to go with this one. What are your odds of winning an arm wrestling match against Dwayne Johnson?
0.5%. I'd have to tickle him or something.
Dude, he's a horse, man.
Yeah.
Gosh. All right, last question. When's the best time to eat a donut?
After your workout.
That's great.
After your workout, because that's when it's the least likely to be stored as body fat and go towards glycogen.
Oh, that's good. I saw you do that video, and I think that's probably the thing that got me to I got to interview this guy. But you were in the car, you were eating a donut, saying, "Look, if you're going to eat one of these, this is the best time to do it." That's great.
Yeah.
And I told you that when I was printing my notes, just as I hit print, I got a chat from my office that said, "Hey, there's donuts in the break room," and I'm like, "Oh my gosh!"
I love it.
I'm about to meet kind of the fitness guru.
Should have brought him in here, man.
I should have brought him in. One. I should have made him.
That video I think is my most viewed video. Yeah.
Is it really?
Oh yeah, eating the donut. Yeah.
Well, it gives people the freedom that they're looking for. The loophole.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, how can people connect with you, find you, follow you?
Yeah. So I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn, Russ Yeager, RUSS, and then it's YEAGER. They can go to my website, russyeager.com.
Awesome. Russ, this has been really, really great. Thank you for opening up your gym to this. So this has been great seeing the energy here and meeting you, and I think this is going to be really helpful. And the freedom to eat pizza.
Absolutely, Bruce. Appreciate you, man. This has been great. I appreciate the great, intentional, research questions and the conversation.
Thanks again. Really, really great meeting you.
Yeah.
See you.
Appreciate you, brother.
All right.
All right.
Thank you for joining us on Consuming Careers. If you've enjoyed the show, please click the follow button in your podcast app so you won't miss any of our future episodes. And if you have a minute, write us a review. We truly appreciate hearing from our listeners. And as always, I'm Bruce Smith, and you've been listening to Consuming Careers.